Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of Knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we are on grievance number 386 in the beautiful city of Roseville, Michigan. I've been on a hiatus. I apologize for that. Hopefully it will be back to business as normal. I just, I was posting a lot of episodes for the convention, and I had to take a break. But I'm back, and I have a good episode today. So, have you ever went to a branch meeting and thought that you wanted to affect some change, but because of the complexities of that meeting, you might have thought that you might not know exactly how to do it? Well, I think sometimes these things are by design. I think that sometimes those people in authority use the fact that they know how the system works better than you to keep change at a minimum. But I have a good opportunity because somebody requested that I do an episode on Robert's Rules of Order. Now, if you're unaware, during a general membership meeting, typically a lot of branches follow Robert's Rules of Order. I'm not a professional on my own accord, but I have sought out professionals, and I sought out reading material that would articulate what you might need to know in order to effectuate some change at your branch level at the meeting. Because ultimately, just like with the convention, the supreme body is the membership at the meeting. Doesn't matter what your president says, as long as your membership votes a certain way, regardless of the president. So, without further ado, I'm going to read from some of the material that I've gathered and some of the stuff that people have sent me. NALC branch meetings are union democracy in action. The union is the members, and in branch meetings, members have the opportunity to participate in all aspects of local union activity. That's why local NALC leaders must constantly work to make meetings as democratic as possible. The rewards of such efforts are multiple. Democratically run meetings are more likely to attract a larger percentage of branch membership, and those members who attend are more likely to be active and involved in union business. The key to achieving these goals, as many local NALC leaders have found, is effective use of democratic meeting procedures, such as the rules of parliamentary procedure. So first, you got to go check your bylaws to see what they use at your branch. Make sure that they use Robert's Rules of Order. If they do, many of these things will apply. If they don't, a lot of times it might be amended Robert's Rules of Order. To use something completely different would be strange. Not many branches do that. But many people tend to see parliamentary procedure as an archaic thing and time-wasting practice that basically hurts decision making rather than helps it. Effective branch leaders, however, know that following a clear set of rules about how business is to be handled actually frees up discussion and permits all members to become equally involved in important decisions. Incorporating principles of democracy goes back to ancient Greece. Parliamentary procedure ensures that while the majority rules, the minority has the right to be heard. These rules also provide balance between the power of the meeting chair and that of the members. The person in charge of the meeting has the power to keep things moving. However, members can decide if individual actions of the chair are fair or not. So basically, I'm going to be talking about a brief summary of the most important parts of parliamentary procedure, or AKA otherwise known as Robert's Rules. If you want to learn more than what I am going to teach you here, you should get the most recent version of the book. It's available in most bookstores. To help union members and officers use parliamentary procedure accurately and effectively, local leaders should stress not the letter of the law, which is the specific language of the rules, but rather the principles behind the rules. These principles can be stated as follows. 1. Only one subject should come before the meeting at a time. Each proposal coming before the meeting shall be freely debated with meaningful discussion. That's number 2. Number 3. The will of the majority is sought, but a minority will have the right to present a case. And number 4, each member has rights and responsibilities equal to those of every other member. In parliamentary law, the presiding officer, almost universally the branch president, unless they're absent, then your bylaws likely have a chain of order that refers to who's actually going to be the chair. They have a relationship between the assembly and they're effectively the leader of that meeting. The president, as chair, bears the responsibility for conducting an orderly, fair, and productive meeting. It is critical to understand that the chair does not exist to unilaterally dictate policy, but rather, their function is to act as an impartial referee who facilitates the Assembly's democratic decision-making process. The duties of the chair include calling the meeting to order precisely at the appointed time, announcing the business before the Assembly in the order prescribed by the agenda, recognizing members who are entitled to the floor, ensuring fair distribution of speaking time among opposing viewpoints, clearly stating and putting to a vote all questions and motions that legitimately come before the Assembly, protecting the Assembly from frivolous or blatantly unconstitutional motions by ruling them out of order, enforcing the rules relating to debate and maintaining strict decorum. Because the chair wields significant procedural power, Robert's Rules of Order expects them to remain strictly impartial during debates on substantive issues. The chair should not debate a motion from the podium. If the branch president feels passionately about a highly contested main motion and wishes to vigorously debate the issue, the proper parliamentary procedure is for the president to temporarily relinquish the chair to the next ranking officer until the pending question is fully disposed of. By stepping down to the floor, the president speaks as a regular member, preserving the perceived neutrality of the presiding office. Once the vote is concluded, the president resumes the chair. But here's the best part. The ultimate supreme authority of the local branch rests not with the executive board, but with the members in good standing assembled at the meeting. Every member has the inherent right to attend meetings, make motions, participate fully in debate, and cast a vote on any pending question. Corresponding to these rights are certain parliamentary obligations designed to maintain order. Members must address all remarks through the chair, not directly to other members. They must avoid personal attacks, confine their remarks strictly to the pending question, and respect the ruling of the chair, unless formally appealing that ruling. A member who refuses to abide by the rules, uses abusive language, or persistently disrupts the proceedings can be called to order by the chair. In extreme cases, the assembly can vote to have the sergeant-at-arms remove the disruptive member from the hall. The motion is the basis of all action at a membership meeting. Motions made by members take precedence over any discussion of reports or new business, the closing of discussion, and the adjournment of the meeting. To make a motion is very simple, yet complications frequently arise when uninformed members or officers misuse the motion. When a member wants to suggest an idea or course of action, that member should stand up and request the floor, the right to talk without interruption. The chair of the meeting must recognize that member before the member can talk. Once a member is recognized by the chair, other members should sit and listen. Many branches have provisions in their bylaws setting limits on the amount of time a member can talk, whether in the first proposing a motion or contributing to discussion. Even if no such formal limits exist, the chair of the meeting should master the art of cutting people short if they talk on and on. Sometimes the chair, too, needs to be reminded to keep comments brief. The members should state his or her idea in the form of a motion. For example, I move that branch should appoint an education committee, for example. Every motion needs a second. In small meetings, traditionally the chair asks for a second, which may be made by any member calling out second in a loud voice while remaining seated. Some branches may require that person seconding the motion be recognized as well. After the second, the chair of the meeting or the meeting secretary should restate the motion clearly so all members can hear it. Then the chair should ask, is there any discussion? In recognizing people wishing to discuss the motion, the chair should try to alternate speakers for and against the motion. No one should speak twice on a motion while others are waiting to speak. An effective chair should make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be heard and that discussion does not drift from the point or become emotional. I have the 6 mandatory steps of a motion. Under Robert's Rules of Order, every main motion must proceed through a strict 6-step life cycle to ensure clarity, fairness, and documentation. Skipping these steps leads to chaotic, questionable outcomes. 1. The member seeks recognition. When no other business is pending, the member rises from their seat or approaches the designated floor microphone and addresses the presiding officer. Mr. President or Madam Chair. Normally, this is done differently based on the size of your branch. In my branch, we only have about 30 members there, so we raise our hand. The chair recognizes the member is number 2. The chair grants the member the floor by stating their name, nodding, or acknowledging them. The member now has the exclusive right to speak. No other member may interrupt except for a few specific privileged motions like point of order. Number 3, the member makes the motion. The member states their proposal clearly and concisely. The motion must always begin with the formal phrase, I move that, or I would like to make the motion. An example of it would be maybe, I move that branch 2502 authorize the expenditure of $500 for the purchase of bottled water for the upcoming letter carrier Stamp Out Hunger food drive. All right, so number 4. Another member seconds the motion. Before the assembly can spend its valuable time debating a proposal, at least one other member must agree that the matter is worth discussing. Another member could simply state, second from their seat. Or, in my branch, we raise our hand after the chair says, "Do I have a second?" And we raise our hand and we say, "I second the motion." If the motion fails a second of the motion, then the meeting would move on to the next item of business. Number 5. The chair states the question. This is critical, often overlooked step. The motion does not officially belong to the assembly until the chair formally states it. The chair states that the question is, it is moved and seconded by the branch and by the individuals that the branch authorized $500 for the purchase of bottled water. Is there any debate? Once the chair states the question, the original maker of the motion can no longer withdraw or alter it without the assembly's permission. Debate, and vote, and announcement is number 6. The assembly debates the merits of the motion. Like I said earlier, usually go back and forth between agree and disagree. When the debate concludes, the chair puts the question to a vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed say no. Finally, the chair announces the definitive result of the vote and the effect of the action. For example, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and the treasurer will disperse the $500 for the food drive. This final announcement provides the recording secretary with clear directive needed for the official minutes. Robert's Rules of Order categorizes motions into a strict hierarchy of precedence. If a motion is higher precedence is made, while a lower ranking motion is pending, the higher ranking motion must be dealt with immediately before the assembly can return to the lower ranking motion. So I'll tell you the different classifications of motions and examples, but the hierarchy, you probably should look at the Robert's Rules of Order because it gets pretty complicated. Classification. Main motions. They bring a substantive new item of business before the assembly. They have the lowest precedence, only one main motion. So you should also, I put these under new business. When they get to new business, that's usually when I try to adopt a new main motion. For example, I move that branch 3825 send 3 delegates to the upcoming state training seminar with expenses paid up to $1,000. Only one main motion can be pending at a time is what I meant earlier. So next down the line is subsidiary motions. They assist the assembly in treating, modifying, or disposing of a main motion. They can alter the text, delay action, or end debate entirely. For example, you can call for the question and immediately close all debate and force a final vote. This requires 2/3 consent of the body. You can amend the motion by changing the wording of the main motion. You can commit or refer to send the main motion to the executive board or committee for further study. There's also privileged motions, dealing with matters of immediate overriding importance that do not relate to pending business. They take precedence over all other motions. For example, recess. You can call for recess to take a short break and allow the executive board to review complex documents. Adjourn. You can call to adjourn the meeting and end it immediately. You can raise a question of privilege. It's oftentimes they refer to that as information. And then there's incidental motions. They relate to the procedural handling of the business rather than the substance of the motion. They arise out of another pending question and must be decided immediately before business can continue. For example, you can call a point of order by calling the chair's attention to the breach of a rule. You can appeal, challenging a ruling made by the chair. You can call for division. For example, when the main motion gets the vote by ayes or noes, well, then you can call for division of the assembly to make sure that a standing vote is conducted to verify something that's too close by voice or inconclusive. Two of the most frequently used and most frequently misunderstood subsidiary motions in union halls are the motion to amend and the motion for previous question. Mastering these two motions allows a member to effectively shape legislation. Amending a motion. During debate on a main motion, a member may realize the proposal is generally good, but needs specific modification to be acceptable. The member must seek recognition and say, I move to amend the main motion by striking out 3 delegates and inserting 5 delegates, for example. If this amendment is seconded, the parliamentary dynamic shifts immediately. Debate moves away from the main motion and focuses exclusively on the merits of the amendment, whether sending 5 delegates is better than sending 3. The assembly then votes on the amendment. If the amendment passes, the debate returns to the main motion, which is now considered as amended. It is common and chaotic in branch meetings to assume that passing an amendment automatically passes the whole motion. It does not. The main motion still must be debated and voted upon in its finalized amended form. Calling for the question, or otherwise known as previous question. In passionate, contentious union debates regarding policy and things that members care about, members can often grow tired of repetitive speeches and simply yell for the question. Under Robert's Rule of Order, it does not force an end to debate. It's actually a breach of decorum to use this incorrectly. To formally halt debate, a member must seek recognition and be granted the floor by the chair and state, I move to call for the question. Because this motion strips other members of their fundamental parliamentary right to speak and debate, it requires a second, and then is entirely undebatable itself, and crucially, requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. If the motion to call for the question achieves a 2/3 threshold, debate ends immediately, and a vote is taken on the pending motion without further discussion. If it fails to reach 2/3, debate continues normally. When a motion is on the floor, members must confine their remarks strictly to the merits of the pending question. Complaints about local station managers, past grievances, or national contract negotiations are technically out of order unless they directly and demonstrably relate to the specific motion currently being discussed. To ensure that a vocal minority does not dominate the meeting and exhaust the assembly, many branch bylaws impose strict mathematical limits on speeches. A standard parliamentary rule is that no member may speak more than twice on any single pending motion, and they absolutely cannot speak a second time until other members who wish to speak a first time have been given the opportunity to do so. Furthermore, many state and national conventions, as well as local branches, impose a strict time limit on individual speeches, such as 2 or 3 minutes per speaker. This time limit can only be extended by a formal motion and a 2/3 majority vote of the assembly. All debate must be addressed exclusively to the chair. Members must avoid using the names of other members if possible, referring to them instead by title, location, or description. Like, for example, the previous speaker, the steward from the main office, the brother in the back. Personal attacks, questioning other members' internal motives, and using derogatory language are strictly prohibited. The chair has an absolute duty to immediately interrupt and call a member to order if they breach this decorum. If a member observes that the rules of the branch, the National Constitution, or Robert's Rules of Order are being violated by the chair or another member, they may interrupt the speaker to state point of order. The chair must immediately pause all proceedings and ask the member to state their point. For example, a member might state, "Point of order. Mr. President, the motion on the floor involves appropriating $1,500 for a holiday party, but our bylaws explicitly state that the executive board must review all non-representational expenditures over $500 before they are brought to the general floor. The chair must then rule on the point of order. The point is well taken, and the motion is out of order. Or, the point is not well taken. The bylaws provide an exception for this line item. If the member strongly disagrees with the chair's rulings and believes the chair is misinterpreting the rules, a member can declare an appeal from the decision of the chair. If this appeal is seconded, it represents the ultimate democratic safeguard. It strips the chair of their unilateral authority to interpret the rules and places the decisions directly on the hands of the voting assembly. The chair steps back, and the question is posed in the room: shall the decision of the chair be sustained? A majority vote, or even a tie vote, sustains the chair's ruling. A majority vote against the chair overturns the ruling and establishes a binding precedent for the branch. Consideration of these main points of parliamentary procedure reveals an underlying logic. Obviously, someone has to be in charge of a meeting, otherwise chaos would rule. Therefore, the chair of the meeting is given the power to recognize speakers and call for votes on motions. But this power is not absolute. Members who feel, rightly or wrongly, that the chair is abusing power can ask for appeals of the chair's decision. Then the membership as a whole has the right to decide if the chair is being fair. If, however, only one person's upset, that person cannot disrupt the meeting at will, nor can one or two people dominate discussion at all times of the members. All of the members have equal power to end debate, to raise points of order, and to ask questions of privilege. So, if you ever have anything that you want to get changed at your branch, maybe you think something's unfair, maybe you think something needs to be instated, started. For example, at my last branch meeting, I made 2 motions, and they were seemingly not popular with certain individuals who were on the executive board, but maybe they were. But for 2 years now, I've been asking my branch to create a catalog of grievances so that we can understand the precedents from each installation. For 2 years now, my president has said that it's a good idea, but he's never made any action toward it. So to force his hand to be able to finally have us start getting the ball rolling, I made a motion to create a retention committee, record retention committee. It was almost unanimously passed. We also had a motion to invite national officers to speak at our next 2 general membership meetings. It was amended twice. Somebody had brought up, hey, wait a second, we don't want to spend extra money on these guys and break any type of election rules. Maybe 100 members will show up and we have to buy extra food, and that might affect election rules. So someone amended it to say that it should be within the rules of elections. And then another person made a second amendment. I think, it was instead of paying postage and sending out mail to invite these individuals, we amended it to say that it was by email, so it wouldn't cost the branch any money. Then it went to go to vote, and sometimes you just got to stack the meetings with the people who are rank and file. But I didn't bother doing that this time because I knew most of the e-board liked it, and even parts of the e-board that didn't, they didn't vote against it because they didn't want to look a certain way. So almost passed unanimously as well. But yeah, if you want to make change, come up with a game plan. I suggest that you develop a caucus within your branch. I have my own caucus. What I mean by that is develop points of contact within each installation with individuals who have influence. They don't have to be a steward, but all of mine are stewards. And when it comes time to make a motion, with plenty of time in advance, call those individuals and say, hey, by the way, I'm planning on making this motion coming up. Do you support it or do you not? If they support it, ask them to help it succeed by bringing individuals from their installations that also support it to attend the meeting. That way, you'll always be successful. A lot of people, that's their biggest mistake, in my opinion, is that they want to affect change, but you're always going to be steamrolled if you don't create a game plan and act accordingly. You're going to have to do some old school organizing. Organize your thoughts into ideas, organize your ideas into action. And that's going to require the help from many other installations if you're from a multi-installation branch. Oftentimes, change is stifled by those that are in power, which is fine, because they're usually have a good interest in mind. They're looking out for the benefit of the membership. At least they think they are. Most of the time. But show them that the supreme body is the membership. Get as many members in there to do and to go to the meeting and to vote on the important topics. Rally up support for the things you think are important. And if you ever need help writing something, feel free to contact me. That's RosevilleWreckingBall@yahoo.com or otherwise 586-209-1902. I'm always open for discussion. I might not be as good at replying as I want to be, but just be persistent with me and I'll be sure to get you the information that you need. One other thing before I let you go. This Saturday, I'll be having Bill Kriebel on for his last episode involving his run for NBA on my show. Please feel free to submit any questions to him at RosevilleWreckingBall@yahoo.com. And also, I'll be having Sean Boyd the week after. So please send any questions for either individual to RosevilleWreckingBall@yahoo.com. We only have a few more election interviews before the election. So make sure you're participatory so that you really know who you want. Listen to all the old election interviews that I've done and others have done. And also, just get out to vote. I don't care who you vote for. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. But please, let's not be silent on this matter. I think this is an important thing that we're going to be doing here. This is a very pivotal time for us. And I think our choice is going to really impact our future. Hopefully you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The grievous genius, the Roseville Wrecking Ball, doing amazing work.
Tune into the Purses of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the Mailman's Playbook, brother.